I watch many of us desire to write a beautiful play, but spend our day administering a not-for-profit organization. I watch great musicians go through whole months of not writing a single song, simply due to the I know I should, but I don't malady of our times. I could stop here, and there's already been a lot of admonishment in the announcements this morning. I could stop here and just say bad, and say have a little gumption, have a little willpower, get yourselves together, and then I could sit down. But you know what? Willpower doesn't get you to enlightenment. Willpower is as phony as the hate and scare people's power. We become lighter and more joyous not because we succeed at willpower or at taming ourselves, but because and as we fail and become conscious of the fact that we did it again. Bill Coffin's great words, I'm not okay, and you're not okay, and that's okay. We come to terms. We live happily in either the country or the city, writing songs or not, achieving Broadway or not, when we disattach from our personal confusion and learn to adore its chaos. Yes, disattach. I know Michael Ellick says he's no longer a Buddhist, but he really is. He really is. And I love Paul Knitter's line about how he came to be a Christian because he became a Buddhist first. I hope you saw that article about him in the Times. Remarkable spiritual biography. When we line up with the promises of God, we realize that these promises are not just about inner peace in the first place. Nobody ever promised spiritual enlightenment to be that kind of static, boring inner peace. The promises are also for inner turmoil, which, exiled properly, becomes inner peace. I've long said that the gospel is the commandment and the permission to enter difficulty with hope. Difficulty entered brings you to the other side of it. Difficulty griped about, grumped about, you know the word that starts with B, about, does not lead to spiritual enlightenment. One of the ways we get light is to enter our own difficulties and our own confusion with hope, and to do it with people we trust. Those other people, you know, that if it weren't for them, everything would be okay. Those are the people who bring us on the road to spiritual enlightenment. We get the lightness of disattachment from absurd, mean expectations. We grok grace. We get grace. We receive the return from exile as a gift and stop trying to get it. Enlightenment results. You might call spiritually enlightened people the gifted and talented program in the great primary school of life. But we're not gifted and talented in the normal way, as in good test scores or astonishing abilities to manage life's curveballs. We are gifted and talented because we get over good test scores and serious curveballs and disattach from their nearly constant oppression. We stop trying to earn our stripes and enjoy our stripes. If personal confusion is not your issue, and maybe other people just aren't personally confused, mazel tov. If personal confusion is not your issue, but instead you enjoy larger and more dramatic fears, you know, fears that have a little oomph to them. Let me go on to the H1N1 virus, which is shaping up to be a real doosbird of a fear fest. What do we get out of worrying about the flu or the possible scarcity of vaccines or the possibility that the virus will get smart and outwit the vaccine? or that the vaccine itself is problematic. Not, by the way, that anyone knows any of these things, but we get to talk and act as though we do, or that we think our experts are better than your experts, or that somebody someplace has this all figured out, and if we could just get to the right person, then we do the right thing. Because we already have a conversation going on at Judson about the virus here, I want to give full disclosure. I am not an expert. I know almost nothing. I have no idea whether to get the vaccine or not if I knew where the vaccine was. Having said that, what I do know is that a fearful response is worse than the flu itself, no matter how bad the flu does or doesn't get. What spiritually enlightened people do, those who are already personally confused and lean in the direction of watching way too much news, what do we do with a nearly constant barrage of stories about the flu, of people wearing masks, of schools closing, of the truth that 5,000 people internationally have indeed died from this virus already? The main thing we do is to disattach from alarmism and panic. Why? Because alarmism and panic gets you nowhere, absolutely nowhere, gets you absolutely nowhere at all. The main thing I learned from my brief bout of cancer is here. It is very important not to give cancer any more than it's already taken from you. If cancer is going to limit the number of years you live your life, why let fear take any more minutes? It is a no-brainer, this management of fear and anxiety. Spiritually enlightened people are very practical, finally. We know about the things about which we can do very little. We do that very little, and we let the rest go by. Often joy overtakes fear when we relinquish our self-aggrandizing anxiety. How, you say, is anxiety self-aggrandizing? Just like this. We imagine that our pain is so important that it's larger than anybody else's pain, and we garnish our plate with temptations of self-importance and become more important, and the next thing you know, all we can think about is ourselves and whether we're going to get the flu or not, and what will we do if we get the flu. Fear gets in our way. Spiritual enlightenment is the joy that comes on the other side of fear. Now, if flu and confusion aren't demonic and difficult enough for you, consider a few more facts. I never said I didn't think there were things that warranted fear. There are plenty of things to be afraid of. There's just no reason to give that fear anything more than it has already taken away from you. The president receives 30 death threats a day. The number of hate crimes has already increased significantly. I'll refer you to the Southern Poverty Law Center on the relationship between hate speech and hate crimes. You know it in your own life. You watch the news. I'm not trying to make you afraid, but I am trying to get you to deal with the fact that hate speech is increasing and that therefore violence is increasing, including the terrible, almost unsayable fear that the exterminationists, which are a whole organized group of people who have clergy praying that the president will fail, have clergy praying that abortion doctors will be killed, and then guess what happens? Abortion doctors are killed. There is a permission being given to violence by the hate and scaremongers that is terrifying.